check it. The classic definition of corruption in most cases is that it is a deviant act from the ideal. But for our purpose, it is used as a dishonest act for the purpose of financial gains or for short-circuiting a system. So if you look at the corruption from that angle, then the problems of corruption must be understood. I want to say that as a society, this is the first time a body of this nature is talking of corruption and thinking over it, which I guess is the most important. A lot of people perhaps may not appreciate the effect of corruption. In a way, abuse of discretion is also corruption. A lot of people must have read the history of Russia pre-1917. I think it's a classic case to mention here. The problem was actually with the king, Nicholas, because he could not rule very well. He delegated authority to his wife. His wife delegated authority to a prophet, Rasputin. So they were mismanaging the economy. Anybody who wanted something had to go to the wife, not to the king. And there was war with Germany. And so the society broke down, but the king did not know what was going on. It was not that Lenin actually sparked the revolution. The revolution was as a result of the ineptitude of King Nicholas. And the effect of it was that revolution that wiped out the complete Romanov family and the problems that ensued in Russia. At the time of the revolution, people were killed mercilessly. So my fear is that if we really understand the effect of corruption, we will be afraid of having a revolution. Because at times, revolution can be better than, a coup is better than a revolution. In the revolution, everybody is at risk. If we now understand that this is the problem of corruption, then how do we handle it? First, I think listening to our speakers, it's obvious that the chief executives are very important. And I did realize that they mentioned Singapore and Botswana. But the area I'd like to talk about is in terms of comparative psychology, because there are no inventions except we use nature. In comparative psychology, there was an experiment which can be very germane in this issue. Some rats were raised under a common condition. Then they took some into boot A and took some to boot B. Those who were in boot A, they gave them a lot of food and they stayed there for a long time. Those who were in boot B, occasionally they gave them food. After that period of control, then they labeled A's and B's and packed all of them together in one place. In that very place, they now gave them a lot of food. What happened was that those who came from where they were eating all the time, they just ate small and left. But unfortunately, those who were in experiment B, which was the control, they ate food and took some into their cubicle. They ate and took some into their cubicle. So this is the very basis of a society, and that is the problem that we have. First, a lot of people are coming from a situation of poverty. All of a sudden, you are in wealth, and you tend to believe that if you don't steal, you may never get there. Secondly, the fear of the future. Your position is not permanent, so please steal and keep some. This is the basis of corruption. So when you look at the basis of corruption, you may now wonder how it can be tackled. Obviously, EFCC and all those can come in, but actually the issue is far from that. For our purpose today, corruption at the highest level is not perceivable except when you are a chief executive or you are leading your country. So, and I believe that one system that must come to play in the presidential system of government is what we still have a problem about. We are using the American system, but we forget the keys of the American system of politics. The legislature, number one, must be strengthened. A legislature that takes salary and everything from either the chief executive, wherever he is likely to be dependent on the reasoning of the chief executive. So even when they perceive or see corruption, they cannot actually fight it. In the American system, the senator is there for 6 years. So when a man calls himself the president, he is for 4 years. He's either meeting some people in the legislature there or leaving them. So the senators are not there because the president won election. They are fiercely independent of the president. In the Congress, Every two years, they go for election. So when a president is not behaving right and everybody is turning against him, the election of the 2 years is actually a measurement of the president. So if the party loses control in the House or is numbering in the election reduces in the parliament, that party will tend to talk to the president. But unfortunately, in our own system, we have the legislature, the Senate, and the Congress all for 4 years. So the checks cannot be there. At times, what we call check is psychological. It is not written. But this is the verb that the American system has, which we don't have. Now that we are thinking about our constitution, maybe we need to think of this interplay. This interplay is the most important measure of the American presidency, but we don't have. There are some other areas like the EFCC, its personnel. Obviously, EFCC is doing a good job, but the measurement can be very, it's not something you can measure and say, omnibus, they are doing very fine. Even a time comes that the EFCC itself must know that there is politics around it and it must be very careful. If a man, when he contradicts or he attacks someone and you go to EFCC, you are coloring it. So this aspect of EFCC being effective also comes to play. And I believe that the issue of corruption, if we don't talk about it in a holistic way, if we just pinpoint, we may be having problems. Obviously, our society has a problem because in the last transparency result, which they did for 146 countries, Nigeria got 144. I think we are waiting to have the last two. But it's obvious that if we continue as a nation, presently the way we are going, we are likely to have problems. And so I conclude that corruption can be managed, but the way to manage it is the entire redrawing of the system underneath. And this is what is going to affect those who are in leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I think I have to round up. We had two speakers. Professor Akin Oyebode spoke of capitalism. I suppose he's speaking from his own educational background in Russia. That must have influenced his thinking. You see, some people say people are corrupt because of poverty. But most of the people we arrested were not poor people. Were people who have held high offices. And these people others see, copy them, and they want to be like them. And it becomes worse when the rulers themselves don't punish people or try to frustrate those who want to punish those who are corrupt. When the courts are not doing their duty as it should be done. I mean, imagine somebody who was accused of stealing about 30-something billion, and he said it's 20, and the judge fined him 750,000. He paid the money on the spot. Now, would that judge doesn't know? Would we say the judge doesn't know that the punishment should be commensurate with the level of money stolen? Nobody has spoken about the court. I remember a case where a judge gave us leave to arrest a judge, a senior advocate of Nigeria. We arrested him, and he was locked up for a day or two. Before the same judge, there was an application for bail. No evidence was heard. Nothing was heard. The man was charged and acquitted on an application for bail. And that chap became a minister. You know, the point I wish to make is this. You are governors. You can lead by example. You can make sure that you make sure that the law is applied correctly and handle those who are corrupt in a manner that they will regret that they ever served in your government. We have to start somewhere. And I also believe that everybody tells me, oh, I can